Good afternoon and welcome to Getting Your Business Online Instantly, or at least we'll say as soon as possible. I'm Dante St. James. We'll be taking you through this afternoon. Thank you to Alison and Jeanette who've joined nice and early for this one. Expecting a few more people may drop in at some point as well. Let's get underway. Now, it's an introduction to me and who I play with. I'm a community trainer and digital marketing associate and media planner for Facebook Australia and New Zealand. I also work in consultation with Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory, which is the office I'm working in today. Also a trainer for Google's digital Springboard digital literacy program, which has been a lot of fun too. Also do a lot of volunteer work for the Be Connected program, connecting seniors with digital tools, and got some training, lots of little training and digital solutions contracts all over the place in mostly the northern half of Australia, in Queensland, New South Wales, the Northern Territory, Western Australia, and also South Australia. This is brought to you today, though, by the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, delivered by Business Station in WA, Treaty Business Consulting in the NT, and we've got Regional Development Australia, Brisbane in Queensland as well. So I'll try not to rush through too much of this because a lot of this is going to be exploring stuff. Maybe I'll do some screen shares along the way as well to show you some of the tools that are really useful for helping you to get your business online a little bit quicker and potentially with a lot less cost as well. What we're going to cover is how you can get yourself a website in the least amount of fuss and least amount of cost way. We'll look at getting yourself then listed on Google as well, using Google My Business as the primary way that we'll use to get your business found. We'll also look at you being present on social media with Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn primarily as ones that are pretty simple for you to get going without a huge, massive learning curve to get there. There's lots of room for Q&A. If you've got specific questions you'd like to ask, please just post them in the Q&A or the Zoom webinar chat as well. This is a live delivered program for those of you not watching this on YouTube. But if you are looking to watch this later, this will be presented on Business Station's YouTube channel after today. It'll be at youtube.com. Just search for Business Station and you'll be able to see a whole list of all the different videos that myself and other advisors in the ASBAS Digital Solutions Program have done. So when it comes to getting a website, you've got a few ways you need to really approach it. First of all is, do you have the time to learn how to and become really good at building a website? Now, I've been doing this since 1996, so I've got a fairly good routine that I go through and I can whack together a website pretty quickly. So when you're paying someone like me or another web developer to do a website, what you're actually paying for is their 20 years of expertise in doing it really, really quickly. But that said, if you want to be able to do it yourself, that will be something which you go, yeah, you know what, I'd like to be able to spend at least the time to learn how to build a basic website by myself. So we'll cover a little bit of that today. It's also about how much you've got up front to spend. Now, a lot of your web developers are going to cost you a lot of money. It can be very low if they're very, very new to the game. And generally, if they're coming from an offshore place, say India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, where the Australian dollar buys a lot more time, then you're able to get a lot more out of them. But when you're dealing with Australian web developers, it can get rather expensive. So it becomes a very much a time. Do you have the time or do you have the money? If you've got the money, generally it's worthwhile just getting someone to do it for you. But if you go, well, I don't really have the money, but I've got a bit of time on my hands, well, you can probably consider doing a website on your own. And a couple of tools I'll show you will help you to do that a lot more easily. But then the other thing is too, if you do build a website on your own, you've got to consider whether then you're able to maintain it, that you are able to grow it if it gets bigger. You're able to do more with it beyond just those very basics of throwing up a few pages. So we really, really want to make sure that you are able to get yourself in a position where if you're building your own website, you're able to handle what you need to do with a website after that. Now, some of the website platforms that you can deal with that can help you to build your own, probably the most simple one in the world is Google Sites. If you just go to google.com/sites or sites sites.google.com. It gives you a really, really simple interface that allows you to build websites. Now I'm going to try and bring this up for you on a screen that I can actually work with and show you pretty much just how basic that is to set up. So sites.google.com. You can't see it just yet. I haven't shared the right screen. Let me just switch that over now to sharing desktop. Is it 3? Desktop 1. Let's share that one. All right, so now you're going to be seeing me going to my Google Sites. Now, I've built a few of these in the past because it's a really good way and a cheap and interesting way to build a site on my own. If I want to build a new site in here, I just go, okay, well, here's my recent ones that I've had. What do I want to do? I want to build a new one. So let's go blank and build a new site, or I can use one of all these different templates that are down here. So it's an event, a help center, a project. Let's just say I'm building, let's just say an event. I'm going to set up an event for people to come and sample my goods, or it could be a launch event, something like that. Now I've selected that. It's going to open up an interface that allows me to then do things with that template. Pretty simple. It's already got most of the stuff in there I'm going to need about my event. I just now need to then go, what do I want to enter? If I want to say, this is my launch party at, and I'll put in a venue. Let's just say the venue is at Elizabeth Wharf. For those of you in WA, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go, it is on Friday, November 6th. I think that's the right, I think it's the 6th on Friday, November 6th, 2020. And then if I want to change anything in here, like the background photo, I can just go change image, select an image from their library or in my albums of things I've already got. So I might just select something they've already got, maybe this little one here. And it changes the view of it. Now it's also adjusting the readability there to show me that it's going to put a little bit of filter over that photo to make sure that my words still stand out enough. But if I'm looking at that going, you know what, the whole look isn't very me. It's really not my kind of approach. I can pop over to the right here to themes and then start to play with some of the different theme ideas I've already got set up for me. So I go simple, it changes the colors. I can make that a magenta or a purple. Aristotle, a little bit more formal. I can play again with the colors so they are a little bit different. Diplomat gives me that around it. Looks very, very formal, very very studded leather lounge suite kind of look. It's the best way I can describe it. Or if I go to level, which is the one that I originally was, I can also go, well, I don't like the colors, but I do like the style. So I'll change it to a green for mine. And then once I've got that and I'm happy with it, I can just continue going down the page, hovering over the sections I want to change. Change these words to meet my team, see our work, and celebrate our launch. And I can have that launch, that RSVP, going to anywhere I like. So if I want to adjust that to RSVP, I'm going to go book now, and then it can go off to a form, an Eventbrite, any sort of RSVP, Calendly, whatever you use that you would like to use for your particular booking system. That's where you do it from. Update it. Now it says book now. So instantly those changes happen. I can then break this down and go, do it from 6 p.m., then do this one from 7 p.m., do it from 8 p.m. And my launch party may involve different things in it. So I might want to change that photo to something else, replace image. Let's select an image from there. And it's going to look through the photos that I've got access to from my previous stuff. So I can go, here's a jumping crocodile. That looks like it is all right. I'm going to watch some jumping crocodiles. We might have people in the next one. And the final one, I'll select a photo from here. I can also search for images on Google. So I'm going to search for ice cream. And if I put my ice cream in there, and what this is looking for photos that don't have a copyright associated, which potentially don't have a copyright associated with them. But please do be careful with that. You're better off using your own photography at any time anyway. So as I go through that, I can make any sort of changes I want. Over on the pages, it's telling me there the pages that are already listed along this menu. So if I take one of these pages out, it's going to remove it from the menu. So I go delete, and venue is now being deleted from there. I go insert. I can insert any kind of different layouts I want, including lots of different elements. So carousel, I can have a placeholder. I don't know what they use that for. Calendar, you can insert your Google Calendar if you want people to see, when there's a schedule of, say, workshops, something like that. You insert a map, documents from your Google Slides, your Google Spreadsheets. You can also create and insert a Google form. So it's very, very good at being able to bring together all those different Google tasks and different Google tools that will actually allow you then to be able to create a site really quickly and easily. And then adding a domain name to that site is a little bit of a muck around, but there is a way to do it. So for instance, if I want to go into my settings, I can go, okay, the settings. I want to go to a preview, or I want to make this site go live. I can then add a domain at the very end to it. So once I go publish, and then I can go, who can view this? So if I've got a G Suite account or a Workplaces account, I can make it only visible to people who have the same domain name as me, or I can make it public to the whole world to be able to see. So in this case, I'll just go, I want to be able to share this to everybody. So I don't want to be able to make it so that just anyone in my organization can see it. I want people outside of my organization to see that as well. Let's cancel there because I don't want to publish that one for now. So you get the idea that this is something that's just a free tool. You don't have to pay for this. The only thing you'll have to pay for is about $10 for a domain name. And the limitation at the moment with Google domains is you can only do .coms and .nets and .orgs. You can't do .com.au, which probably shouldn't be that big a deal if you're just starting up a first free website you want to build, and that's it. You'll also get a little stamp at the bottom. So if I was to go, let's preview this. It will show me at the bottom that this is made in Google Sites. It's not showing that at the moment, but it will actually show down the bottom in a live site that this was made using Google Sites. Up to you whether that's a problem or not. What it will also do is let you preview what it looks like on a mobile, what it looks like on a tablet, and what it looks like on your desktop. So it's a really nice little clean, very, very fast, very quick, very, very simple web editor that allows you to get a website going almost immediately. You can publish it. You get a weird looking domain name, which you can then buy a domain name and make it look a lot more neat and a lot more professional later on. And because it's with Google, it's going to have some decent SEO capabilities in it. But on top of that, it's going to be also super light and super fast. So it's really good for using that one. So that's Google Sites. What I'm now going to do is go for a look at Square websites. This is for if you wanted to use something which is a basic e-commerce website, the most simple ever e-commerce website you want. So I'm going to go to Square. Now, Square, is that they got the little objects that you go and pay for a lot of stuff in cafes and at markets with. Well, they've also got their free online store set up. So if I start a free online store, it starts off and points me in the direction of what do I want to do? Do I want to set up a store? And when it does, it gives me a limited amount for my free store, at least, a limited amount of capabilities of what I can do. I can only have a certain amount of products in there. I can't have my own domain name. It'd have to be like a Square-based domain name. So let's sign up for this now. We need to type in a password that I'm going to remember. Let's try something that isn't already in use. I think everyone's got their email address that they use for subscriptions and whatnot. So once it's gone in there, no, it tells me it doesn't want that one either. No, it's getting there. But it's just taking a while to get there. Come on. Refresh, fella. It looks like, there we go. And then it's going to ask me what it is that I want to sell. Now, bear in mind, this is a free service for a certain amount of things. So I'm just going to say I'm going to be selling, let's just say consultations. So I want to sell consultations. Is now going to take me through the process of building up all the things I want to do with that. So do I want to ship items? No, I don't. I don't want to do any of that sort of stuff. Self-serve ordering, yeah, I do want to do that, but I don't need to deliver anything. So I'm not selling a physical good, but you cannot put all that in there. Now saying, what do I want? Is this a single page for shopping or a full website with an online store? For now, just a single page will do, because all I'm doing is selling consultation sessions. It builds up a store for me. Now it wants me to log in again. Good grief. So normally this would go a lot more smoothly. My apologies, because I haven't logged into Square for a very, very long time in Weebly. So I'll just have to see how this is going to work. Okay, looks like it's going to let me in. The idea is there that once we're in, it builds up a store for me, and I can create that page very, very, very quick. So this one's set up. What I can do now, I've set everything up. Now I want to start editing my website. So I go to edit my website. It's going to go into either an existing one that's already there, which I don't believe these guys have. Yeah, they do. And then I can start playing with all the different items that are in there. So much in the same way that the Google stuff had, it would also have different elements on the side that you can drag and drop into wherever you want to drop them into. Well, in this case, you just hover over the element you want to change, such as contact, and I'm able to get in there. If there's a space, if you want to create more space, all these different things over here can be dragged and dropped in there. And remembering that this is free, but only for a certain amount of products you want to have on there. So they're not selling products and they're not taking bookings on there. They just use this as something they build a site in that allows you to have a certain amount of products. I think it's up to 5. And you can sell, and you can actually connect through to a Square payments account as well, which is also free. But as soon as you want to add something like a domain name, so if you wanted to make it, say, these case, www.plumbing.com.au, then they would have to pay for that to be associated with their website. So that's the Square e-commerce setup through Weebly. You can add, different items in there, such as they haven't added the shop onto it, but you can add the shop on there. And there's lots of different apps you can add on that add a lot more functionality to those sites as well. But some of those things are actually going to cost you a little bit more money. And the third one I want to show you is WordPress, which is the world's most common website system. I've got quite a lot of websites on WordPress that will open from here. So I can look through some of the sites that I already manage, but we can then add a new site in there as well. So what I can do once I've logged into I'm going to just log out of WordPress and start again. It's a little bit hard to try and pretend to be a beginner when you've actually done this a lot in the last 24 hours. There you go. So as we start off with Australia, I'm going to send this through to my phone number. It's going to text me a link to go to, which has just now arrived. The stupidity is I don't want a link because I'm not using it on a phone. So it'll go in here. Now it's saying, okay, we're going to get this set up. Let's go to desktop. I don't want the app. And you can start working with WordPress as a fully hosted service for free. It doesn't cost you anything to start off with, but you can start building a site for free from here as well. So let's get going on the desktop. I don't want these apps. I just want WordPress.com. Just let me have it. Thank you. Start your website. That's what I wanted in the first place. So I put down an email address, say this one. Already has that one. Let's try another one. Is there an email address I don't have? Let's log in. So it's just my my internet connection is a little bit slower than usual today, so I apologize for this. Things are taking a lot longer to log in with. Come on, you can do it. When you're ready. Finally. All right, so I can start off by saying I've already owned a domain. Let's just say that I'm going to map it. So I'm going to go, my domain is treaty.com.au. Let's add it. Then I can select my plan. Now there is a free plan alternative, but you can't have a domain name with a free plan. You have a $5 a month, but that $5 a month does give you a very basic low cost site as well. So let's just start with that to begin with. It's now starting to put together all the site for me in the back end, that I'm going to be able to select things like a theme and the plugins and the different functionality that I want there. Now it's finally there. It's going to start me wanting to pay for it, which I'm not going to be doing right now, but you get the idea. You keep going along until you get finally to the back of a WordPress site that looks a little bit like this. So in the background of your website, you can see I've got a fair few extra things. I've got an event calendar built in there as well. If I wanted to create some pages in there, I'd go to pages. And if I wanted to create posts like blog posts, I'd do my blog posts. I use a theme called Divi, which is a page builder, which allows me to sort of go into a page, hover over different elements. Let's just say go to the home page. And then click on the visual builder. And this particular theme allows me just to make changes very visually as I'm going along. Once it loads up, there we go. So I can now hover on any element that's on this front page once it all loads through. So I go down, if I want to change anything, I just hover on the section I want to change, and it gives me the option to change that section. So if I double click on anything, it then brings up, come on, it's very, very slow, my computer today, sorry. There we go. I can change strategy to business strategy. Click there, and then that now saves that live on the screen for me where I can see it. And then I exit out of that. So that ability to be able to change things on the fly using something, and I've got another workshop later this month that's specific about Divi, shows you the whole process from installing it to configuring it to then checking, choosing page layouts that you want to use. It's got like dozens and dozens and dozens of layouts that are ready to go that you can create building sites with. And as a bonus of that particular session is going to happen later this month, I'm going to give you a free code to be able to use the advanced features that you don't have to pay for on your site. So that's worth hanging around for a little bit later this month. Just check out businessstation.com.au and you should be able to see the link to that one to see that how that all works. So I'll stop sharing that page now and we'll go off to the other screen, back to where we were. So that gives us a look at the basics of the website systems that are available to you to get you online a lot quicker. If I was really starting a brand new business, really from a young stage, don't really have a lot of idea, not even really wanting to put much money into it, I would just do something with Google Sites for now. If you want to sell something and you want to set up an online e-commerce store and not have to pay much for it and possibly get it for free, then using that Weebly and Square combination will be really good for you. So let's take a look at the next section, which is getting yourself listed on Google. It all starts with a thing called Google My Business. Now, Google My Business is that funny thing where when you go to any sort of search on Google for a business, you'll see a mention in a panel on the right of it. So the example would be, let me just pop on back to my other screen again to show you what that looks like. Make sure I'm sharing that correct screen again. There we go. So if I type in there, I'm looking for the Laneway Cafe. So that's the place I'm looking for. This over here on the right is the Google My Business profile. Now the Google My Business profile, I have to disable a little plugin I've got going there. Let's turn that off. That panel over there of information is actually run and owned by the Laneway Specialty Coffee. So it knew that's what I was looking for and it found it. And it shows all their reviews. It shows their, it shows like where they are, where they're located, whether they're dining or takeaway. You can ask them a question. It shows you things like when they're a little bit busy and when they're not. So at the moment, they're a little bit busy because it's coming to the end of the lunch rush here in Darwin. And it also allows them to post updates in there as well. They've got profiles they've connected to for their Facebook and Instagram, but if they were really, really savvy, they'd also be posting little updates in there about who they are and what they do and giving a little bit more in there. Now, the way for you to get hold of this is if you've got a mention of your business already out there, but you've never claimed it, if you click the Own This Business link, and allows you to then claim that business. So what it's going to do is go, I'm going to call that phone, Google's going to call that phone number that's listed, and hopefully you're the one that would answer, and you're able to then get a verification code about what, transferring ownership of that business listing over. Right, so how do you get that all started? We start off with business.google.com. Now, as I go into mine, I'm connected through a lot of business accounts. So I've got quite a lot of them, and there's a couple of different groups of them. But what you would normally do is you'll get a, let me try this. You'll normally get this page. So when you get this particular page, then you can start the process of typing in the name of your business. So if I use Selena as an example, I go Selena's Kitchen. And they said, okay, if the name of your business is Selena's Kitchen, let go next. And you can start giving yourself a category. So say Selena's a caterer or a catering supplier, catering food and drink supplier. There we go. Now you can select whether you've got a shop front or not. You go, no, I don't have a shop front because I'm doing this from home. And it says, well, what areas do you now service? Do you service, let's just say Brisbane? The Brisbane, Queensland. You might want to say I also service the Gold Coast. And because I feel like driving up that horrible Bruce Highway all the time, the Sunshine Coast as well. And it said, okay, those are the areas you're going to service. Great. Next. Now you can start putting in things like your website if you've got one, or you don't really want one, or you want to get a free one, which sets up a Google site, funnily enough, being a Google service. And you can put in your phone number there as well. As it goes through those details, then it's going to go, well, I'm not going to list any of those things. Maybe this. Don't need a website. Now, do I want updates? Yeah, sure I do. And now it says to manage it, it's going to want to verify it. So if I go finish, it's now going to say, okay, where am I going to mail a verification postcard to? And normally these they like to claim that these come within 6 days, but you and I both know that getting anything around in the age of COVID, and particularly in regional Australia, like where I am, it's never 6 days, more like 6 weeks. I've had them take up to 3 months to get there before. That said, though, if you're in a major metropolitan area like Brisbane or Perth, you're a lot more likely to get yours within that 6 to 10 day period. So you just got to make sure this address that you're going to put in there is a real address that is physically there, not a post office box, unfortunately, has to be delivered to your address. That said, that address is not going to be visible on your profile. So you don't have to worry about having your privacy invaded by people who are seeing that address and wanting to knock on your door. That address is only for the reference of Google to send that postcard to you to verify that you really do have a business at that address and that you are a legitimate address that can be verified. That's the only reason why they do it. Now, sometimes for businesses that can't receive them because they can't receive mail, there are other ways around it. But usually they're pretty smart. They'll know that in certain areas, based on where you're trying to access Google My Business from, they can say, okay, I know you're in the middle of the Tanami Desert, so I know that you're not going to be able to do this. We're going to verify this over the phone with you. There are ways to do it. If it doesn't get a verification from you in a certain amount of time, they will often prompt you with an email and say, hey, you're having trouble verifying. Hey, let's try and do this over a phone call or email. So there are ways around it. The important thing is, though, that this is the #1 thing you should do when you're starting up a business, that particularly if it is a local business serving local people, this allows you to be found really, really easily in Google. It's going to stop sharing that screen and go back to the other now. Jumping around from screen to screen, aren't we? The next thing is to use Google Ads. Now, Google Ads can really, really frighten people. A lot of people think it's a very expensive operation to do it, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to spend, you know, $10, $15, $20, $30, $100 a day in order to be found. In fact, if you have a situation where you're quite niche in what you do and you just want to be found for a couple of search terms, let's just say you want to be found for being a leatherwood honey producer. So that's all you do. You don't produce any other kind of honey except honey that's sourced from hives that are exposed to leatherwood trees, which are usually in Tasmania's northern Tasmania area. So in that case, your Google ads will be very much geared towards a very specific search, like leatherwood honey, not honey, just leatherwood honey. That would make it a lot cheaper because there's a lot fewer people searching for you. That's the way that Google ads kind of work. They work on a way that tells you that the more common your search is, say looking for scented candles, or you're looking for cafes, or you're looking for Roden and Fields consultants, then you're going to have to pay a lot more to stand out above all the others who are also advertising in your particular area. And that's another area where you can do ads on Google, is you nominate the physical area that you want to market into. So if you're on the Gold Coast, you can say, well, I only want 4218 as a postcode, or 4212 around Helensvale and Hope Island. If you're in Perth, you can go, well, I just want the whole of the Perth metropolitan area. So you can set that up as well. Or if you say, no, I'm a cafe that's in the northern suburbs of Darwin, I really only want people in the specific zone, let's just say Casuarina, Allawah, Anula, Wallagi, Waggaman, and Leanya. And you can nominate specific suburbs that you want to advertise your services into. You can do that in Google Ads, and it reduces the costs right down. In fact, you can get away with as little as about maybe $100 a month with Google Ads at the very lowest. After you get too low, you find that you just won't appear enough, and it won't be worth your money. They'll try and spend it, but if they can't, they won't spend the money they can't if you cannot compete with those who are spending a lot more for your particular search term. Just realize though, there's a lot of plumbers in the world. So if you're a plumber, then you're going to have to be very competitive. And I see even in places as small as Alice Springs, if you're trying to advertise as a plumber, you're still paying around about $30 per click. If you're, say, an accident lawyer in Brisbane, then you're up against Logan Law, Ipswich Law, Shine Lawyers, all those kind of places. They're paying up to $150 per click to go through their website. So if you're a little sole trader lawyer, you cannot even get close to affording that kind of click-through rate that you have to get to the top of the search terms. The way to get about it is you narrow down, you niche down. So you go, I only want to be found in certain suburbs. I only want to be found for certain search terms, and not the broad search terms such as plumber. You could go gas fitting plumber in Logan and just have that exact search term. It's going to cost you a lot less. We've also got a Google Ads webinar coming up in the next week. So I invite you along to that one as well to get more of a total overview of how Google Ads work, and taking a look under the hood of how the actual system works. And then there's also SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's the one that people like to think about. It's about spending a bit of time, but sometimes money as well, to optimize your website to be better found naturally, or what they call organically, in Google. And so that then would be going, well, what I need to do is make sure that the pages on my website are designed in such a way they load really fast. Or it could be that I need to write the content for my website in such a way that when people ask a specific question, that my website is the best possible answer to that question. And so it'll appear towards the top of the search results. SEO is not something which happens overnight. A lot of web developers, if they'll build a website for you, say, yes, we're building in SEO. But the reality is that SEO takes a very specific skill, and it's more than one thing. It's not just a matter of writing pretty words. It's also a matter of being technically savvy enough to make a website load super fast. But also then there's other areas such as conversion optimization, which works in with search optimization. Now, conversion optimization means when someone lands at my website, they will do the thing that I want them to do. So a conversion would be whatever your outcome is. If that is for someone to give you their name and email address so you can email them later on, your conversion is a contact. Though if you have an online store and a conversion for you is for someone to buy a scented candle at $49.95 per piece, then you would want to make sure that everything on your website is leading towards that particular conversion to buy that particular candle. So SEO and conversion optimization, they work hand in hand. You can do a little bit of SEO yourself. You can certainly learn the skills. It's a very learnable skill, but it's also about 6 or 7 subsets of skills that you can go very, very deep into it, which is why there's whole companies out there now that do Google SEO. So don't be afraid of having a crack at it, but also know that we are doing an SEO set of sessions this month as well as part of the ASBAS Digital Solutions, where I go into a lot more depth about how to do the SEO thing. So this situation today is really an overview of all the different things we're doing this month and how you can get yourself found, known, and stay known when you're online. Now, getting found on Google, yes, your first step is Google My Business. Yes, your second step is buying Google ads. And third place is probably earning your way in with search engine optimization. But where we really find ourselves located more these days than anywhere else is on social media. Facebook particularly seems to be the #1 place where we go to for people to not just discover us, but also for people to interact with us. Your business page on Facebook is kind of like the new front page. It's a bit like what your website would normally be. They sort of work hand in hand. A website gives you a lot of credibility and a lot of legitimacy, whereas a Facebook page, well, anyone can start one of those up. Anyone at all can start up a Facebook page and pretend to be something they're not. Although these days Facebook is getting a lot better at being able to judge whether something's fake or not and wanting to get proof from other sources that you are who you say you are. But it's where people are always active. It's where people are constantly in their Facebook accounts, on their feeds, doing things. So then it's a matter of within Facebook, making yourself discoverable. Instagram, very much the same, but Instagram is very much the beautiful, very curated, less interactive, but far more, I guess, designed way of presenting your business. And LinkedIn is where you want to be if you're selling to businesses, or if you're a consultant, you're working as yourself, that your brand is actually your name, then LinkedIn is where you want to go. LinkedIn is primarily where I operate, even though I work for Facebook, because what I do with Facebook and with Treaty and with all the other companies that I work for is that I deal with businesses. And naturally, I want to be where businesses are interacting, which is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great place to be. We'll take a bit more of a look at that. Your first step is always going to be Facebook. That's the #1 place you need to get yourself on there. And you do that with a business page. And a business page is different to a profile in such a way that it gives you a lot more analysis tools. It gives what they call insights. And insights will tell you, say, for instance, which of your posts work the better, which one reached the most people, which is the one that got shared more. It will also show you the time of the day that the people who are following you are most active on the platform. So you may assume that they're probably more active at 10 a.m. when you are active. You're up and running into your day, but the reality is that your people could be active more at 7 p.m. at night. So if you're posting everything at 10 a.m., they're not necessarily seeing it. But if you post it at the time that most people are active, then that could be a really good way to reach a lot more people a lot more often. We often complain that nobody ever sees our stuff on Facebook. Most of the time, that's due to the fact that we don't really give them anything they want at a time that they are ready to receive that material. So using your insights on Facebook can go a long way to reaching a lot further. And we'll have, probably in December, I'll have a series of Facebook related in-depth analytics and insights webinars as well. Instagram, yes, is very much about that very beautiful side of your business. If you're selling a physical product, Instagram is key to that. If you sell something you can literally pick up and describe, such as a Yeti coffee cup, that, for instance, is a beautiful, very easily photographable and presentable thing. You can place it in a field of clover. You can place it in red dirt. You can place it anywhere and it'll look fantastic. So if you've got something which you can photograph well, then Instagram is definitely going to be your friend. If you're a consultant, though, that will produce a very different kind of challenge, because there's only so many photos you can take of yourself before it becomes a bit ridiculous. And there's only so many motivational quotes you can put out there before people just think you're really just recycling other people's words all the time. So when you come to Instagram, it definitely takes, it's definitely a good thing to try and build a strategy around who you want to be. And the same for any of these platforms. Who do you want to be on Facebook? Who do you want to reach? Who is the person, and what's the tone that you want to reach them in? Are they wanting to be reached on Facebook, or are you more of an Instagram related business where you can reach people with very beautiful images, with very consistent branding? Or finally, are you a LinkedIn person? where you can connect with a lot of your peers, but also a lot of potential clients. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to get a lot greater reach for your posts. I post something on my Facebook page, it's lucky to reach 32 people. I post something on my LinkedIn and it's reaching thousands. One of my most recent posts got 2,500 reach on it. It appeared in all those different feeds of all those different people who follow me. And that may be because what I produce is designed for business consumers, not for at-home consumers. Whereas what I produce on Facebook, where mostly consumers live, then it doesn't really hit quite the same mark as what it does on LinkedIn. So if you're selling to businesses, you need to cultivate some kind of LinkedIn. The best thing about all three of these platforms is obviously they are free. They're available for you to just go and use and go and test out and go and try out. And just the same way that you can have a business page on Facebook, you can have a business profile on Instagram and a company page on LinkedIn, not just your personal profile. That said, though, the personal profiles have far greater reach and far greater interaction in them in LinkedIn than what they do through their company pages. Company pages have a bit of a long way to go to be as ubiquitous, say, as a Facebook business page. So I think we've got time in to go to a few questions and answers now. I'd like to open up and get a sort of an idea of about what it is that you do. Just let me know if you've got any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Specifically, I know that people tend to ask a lot of questions around WordPress and about Facebook and about personal branding. So if there are a few things you would like to do, particularly those people who are not selling a physical item, but are perhaps selling an item which is, let's just say like consultation sessions, or selling time rather than an item. It can be a very different approach to that. It can mean that you have to go and think of, okay, am I presenting me as a brand or a business name as a brand? I go through this quite often as I change from contract to contract. I have to make sure that my brand as Dante St. James is always maintained through time, no matter who I happen to be working for, what contract I happen to be working on at that time. So have a think about what is the kind of brand you want to take forward, and then match the activities you want to do. Make sure you have not just the company pages you work for, but secure a domain that's of your name, particularly if you're a consultant. You want to secure your own name as a domain name. I own both dantestjames.com and dantestjames.com.au. So that's something for you to consider as well. But if you're looking to sell things online, the easiest, quickest way is to go in through that Square and Weebly combination. So if you go to squareup.com, and that will take you through Square's, buying the little physical Square item to read things on, or you can then go through and set up your own e-commerce website with them to start off with for free. But what you'll probably want to do at some stage is grow a little bit beyond that and use something like Shopify or WooCommerce within WordPress, so you can very easily be able to access the support that comes with it. Shopify is an excellent product for growing your e-commerce, but you can't really go past something like Weebly and Square as a really simple way to get you started with just a few products. And once you really get yourself moving and you've got a bit of revenue coming through, then you might want to consider going and spending a bit more money on getting someone to build something for you. In the meantime, though, I have got my my email address down there. So you have a question you'd like to ask offline, by all means, please do ask that. And just a reminder too, that this entire session will be replayable in the next couple of days at Business Station's YouTube page. That'll be youtube.com. Just search for Business Station and be able to find it on there, as well as about 30 other things I've done over the year as well. Got lots more of these coming up during this month. So please do check out businessstation.com.au to make sure you don't miss out on any of these. And like I said, ask questions at any stage. I'll be glad to answer them along. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, and glad we got a bit of an early mark. So you can go off and have a coffee or have a bit of a lay down if you like, and have a fantastic day and a fantastic week. Thank you again.